Okay.
We sold them all, thank God for, so that was 6 more. Like an hour. But they sold them. Oh, quick turn. Okay. 2 turners. There's a quick turn, I think. That might be it.
Quick turn.
Information.
Different than what I used.
Go say it.
Oh, I've got
Okay, it's
several
getting
things
close, huh?
just to make that easy.
Yeah, everything's looking really good in here. Wow,
Okay.
we're getting there. Yeah, so it's so important, you know, to check the sound. Check, check, check. Yeah, it is. Okay, and we're focused for our SewTime event. Yeah, because, oh, we might even be live right now. Your voice sounds so deep. This is Eddie. I was just told to deepen my voice, so I was more manly. So, yeah,
Ready?
not yet. We're not ready yet.
All right, Eddie.
Okay. And now, wait. We have to wait for 2 minutes, everybody out there. And we don't have any ukulele.
I love your rendition of Neil Diamond.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah, we don't have
All at once.
Neil Scheinman. Hi, Macy.
Okay.
We do have today, just so everybody knows, you're going to be hearing some voices in the background because we do have a live audience for this live recording.
Yeah.
Because every presenter needs a heckler.
And they've been fully prepped and
Ready to go.
okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce this month's presenter, Mo Phister.
Hey, everyone. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Hello.
So I am going to play the 2 crowds today. I have the crowd here live with me, and then I have the crowd behind the lens, and that's the mystery. So today we're going to be doing a SewTime, and it is all about getting organized. So I tried to make the top of this table look like my sewing studio, which is just kind of a cluttery mess of everything. And I'm going to talk to you about different things I've done, projects I've worked on, and ways in which I have gotten a little more organized. In my sewing studio, I created this right here. This is called a ruler wrap. And a ruler wrap is a product that is created from the company by Annie. I was looking for the pattern. It's here somewhere. By Annie. And by Annie makes a myriad of patterns. Her claim to fame is if you, all different types of pouches and bags and zippers and things that help you get organized and store things and do things along that way. I am going to grab this pattern because I want to show you. The ruler wrap is originally a pattern that is created that will hold with pockets several different types of rulers. And you can change the size of these if you want because it's very simple what's happening here. But the way that she has created this bag can perfectly fold up and turn into a tote you could carry somewhere. So if you want to roll up your rulers and take them with you, this is ideal. And another nice thing is it comes in 2 different sizes. I believe this is the smaller of the 2. There's one you can make that's even longer yet. What I didn't do, I didn't put the straps on mine only for one reason. Mine's never leaving the house. I don't carry my rulers with me. So I thought I'm going to leave the straps off. But you can put straps. It does come with this sleeve here. So a dowel has gone through here and I just have those hooks that hang over the door. And this actually hangs down the back of my door in my sewing room. So where I had all of these rulers here, which is my pile and my mess of what's going on, I've now created a way that I can go ahead and store and put all these things away. And I have, let me tell you, there's a ruler for everything. Every time you start a new project, they want you to go get the fancy ruler. But I even have, this is my 18 by 18 square up ruler. That's even gonna fit in here. Look at all these are just gonna pop in here. Not only rulers, I have my rotating cutting mats. That's gonna fit in here too. So all of this mess that's usually around my studio is now getting put away and hanging down the back of the door. And I can just go in and reach for the ruler I want and put it back. And equally, if I leave my zippers open, I might pop a pattern in there saying, that's a pattern I'm working on tomorrow. It may not be the one I'm making today, but it is the one I might make tomorrow. Another thing that is very common with the By Annie products is that you start her product with sandwiched quilted fabric. So when I started the ruler wrap, I have put together fabric that is my backing fabric, my top fabric, and there's Annie Soft and Stable on the inside because that helps bags and all of these things hold their structure. And what the patterns, many patterns do is say, quilt all of this before you cut the pattern out. So you're going to see that you're going to quilt fabric and then cut the pattern out. So let me explain. On her site, many times she's going to say, do straight line quilting or maybe cross hatching. Make it simple. Just quilt it together with straight lines. And then you have a piece of fabric you're going to cut out. What I've done here is I went to Emily Scott Design Edge to Edge Quilting, and this is quilting done in an embroidery hoop. And I did the backing of this using the Edge to Edge Quilting. Edge to Edge Quilting has you create a design, I hope you can see this, that looks a lot like this. And so it is going to be a long, narrow rectangle. And you just stack them all the way down, come over to your next row, go all the way up, go over to the next row, go all the way down. And that's a tip I want to give you about quilting when you're doing this style or you're doing straight line quilting, is that to keep your fabric nice and flat and to help it from distortion, it's best to start in the middle of your project, come down your project, and then the next row work up, and the next row work down, because you're going to stop that distortion of your fabric if you go in those rows. If I were, even as an example, to do straight line quilting, and I went straight, and then the next one went from top to bottom, and the next one went from top to bottom, you get that kind of a little bit off, and it gets twisted. And the way to solve that is first row go down, second row work up, next row work down, and work from the center over, come back to your center and work over. And as an example, with edge to edge quilting, there is a quilt on the wall over here called Antique Lace by Missouri Star. The pattern is from Missouri Star Quilting. I did that entire quilt with edge to edge in the luminaire. So that is 73 by 93. So I've told people, yes, you can. You can do a big quilt in these machines. And now I've got one here to prove it. When I am talking about edge to edge quilting, there's a lot of questions that come up. Do you like edge to edge patterns? Do you like Kimberbell's clear blue tile patterns? And I'm going to tell you why. In that scenario, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes because edge to edge works with just one style. It's going to be a long rectangle. There may be 3 sizes. You might have 5 by 11, 6 by 12, 7 by 13. Those are your choices. But you cannot change the size or they're not going to match up together. And so when you're working on a big quilt, that works fabulous But when you start to get into tight areas and small areas, then some of your options get reduced, and that's where clear blue tiles is very helpful. Clear blue tiles, their designs come in, maybe you'll have 7 by 13, and maybe you'll have 2.5 by 13. They have 14, I think it's 14 different sizes per pattern. So I could be working on a quilt and get all the way over to here, and now what am I gonna do with that other 2.5? If you're doing edge-to-edge quilting, you have to have enough fabric to make one whole more design. If you're doing Kimberbell, you could download her 3 by 13 and fill that space. So it's difference in the flexibility of what you're doing. That's what I'm gonna say about that. Let me think. There's so much more to say about all of this. But that is, again, the ruler wrap. You can change the depth of your pockets. You just have to be mindful of if it's going to fold up, how that fold is going to occur. But I love, love, love having this on my back door because it just cleared off so much of my workspace. When I'm thinking about organizing other things around my studio, I think about thread. And we have seen so many times these thread boxes from Floriani. And everyone says, I can organize my embroidery threads. Well, if you have spools this large, this is Aurifil, or you might have the same size in Gutermann or Wonderfil. This is the same height as a Floriani thread. So you could have a box like this for your regular sewing threads. It holds 30 threads. And not only that, once they sit on a spike, and so they're all in this area on a spike, there are ways to like go this way. Now I'm gonna tuck a few more in. I got 30, now wait a minute, maybe I got 40. But you can get all of those on a spike and then play around and get a couple more in. But really wonderful for sorting your threads out. So we do have thread boxes if that's something else you need to organize in your sewing studio. I want to talk and back up a little bit more about quilting. We traditionally go to our embroidery machines, and the first thing we look for is embroidery thread. And we go and say, what in Floriani, what in Madeira, what am I going to use to quilt? Well, quilters usually use a cotton fabric when they're quilting. So you may not want that sheen of an embroidery thread on your quilt. And if you do look over there or look up here with mine, these were all quilted with Aurifil thread. So you can go ahead and run a cotton thread through your embroidery machine. You just don't want to be going 1,000 stitches per minute. But the quilt I showed you, the red and white one, not a thread break, not a single thread break. And there's 6 rows down by 10 rows across. I didn't break a single thread. All of it done with Aurifil. So a big shout out to, don't believe that if you have your embroidery hoop, it has to be embroidery thread. But with that caveat, I want to say, test, test, test. Do a little test and make sure your machine likes the thread you are choosing. But I'll tell you what I used yesterday.
Do you use the quilting weight 50, or do you use a heavier weight if you're quilting with Aurifil?
I use their standard 40 weight thread.
Okay.
And it's clean and it's beautiful and I love it. A bit of a thread snob. That's me. Okay, so when I'm moving on and I want to get organized, I went and made these totes. This is called Take a Stand. Take a Stand is a bag that comes in 2 different sizes, opens large, and has these nice pockets. Also, the company by Annie's will sell bases for them. Okay. By Annie has a lot of wonderful products. A lot of wonderful products. We brought in a few that you can choose from, but let me tell you, if you find a product by them you would like, we can order it in for you. It's just that there's so many, we don't have enough wall space to put up every color of everything they sell. But they do sell zippers, they do sell hardware, they do sell the mesh for the pockets, and they sell the fold over elastic. And the fold over elastic is what they put along the top of their mesh. And when you see it in the packaging, it has a sheen to it, almost like a lingerie elastic. But you can use either side. One side of it has a matte finish and one side of it has a shiny finish. So use whatever side appeals to you the most. I'm all about break the rules. That's really true. This bag also has a zipper in the front. So you have a full pocket here. It has a zipper in the back. So you have lots of storage in this bag here. It comes in 2 different sizes.
Oh, that's cute.
So you can choose which size. And again, when we say, we're all about, let's break the rules a little bit. Once you make the first one, you're like, okay, now what can I do? Let's think out of the box. Laura, who works here, and I'm sorry she's not here today to introduce you if you haven't met her. She had this focus fabric sitting around her studio and wanted to make something for a friend. So she created this piece of fabric before she cut out and made this bag. And I think it turned out great.
It's cute.
When you are making a lot of the products here, there's a lot of curved corners. Bags have a lot of curves. Even the pattern for the ruler wrap has curves at the bottom of it. And you're going to use a 2.5-inch curve. And a lot of times they say grab a coffee cup and use that to curve the bottom of any type of a bag. And that's where I want to talk about a few tools that are really helpful when you're working on bags or curves or anything along that line. I am the person who says you always should have, let me see if I put it in here. Well, get it out of here. Oh, here. A stiletto. A stiletto is an awesome tool. And we have the ones here by Clover, and they have a nice fine point on them. The thing that is really awesome about a stiletto, it helps you keep your fabric aligned. So when you're sewing 2 pieces of cotton together, maybe you're making a quilt, that's pretty easy to keep those together. When you're doing 2 thick layers of anti-soft and stable and trying to put binding on the top of that, and sometimes the binding is on the bias, it might want to slide out of your way. What's nice about a stiletto is it's so sharp on the top, you can just grip a couple of threads and pull it back to where you want it to be. With that said, I also want to say a stiletto is not an engraving tool. So some of us want to really hold our fabric down and drag it on through the presser feet. And what we do is end up on the plastic of our machine, getting that fine tip right there, and we just skid and engrave along our machine. So it's not an engraving tool. It's for just catching the top of something and getting ourselves back in alignment. And it's really helpful when you're going around curves. So you might have an area with a curve, because when I remove this Wonder Clip, this might want to play and get out of my way. So a stiletto will help me keep that in line as I'm coming around sewing tricky areas. So everybody should have a great stiletto, or tailor's awl. That's what they call them. And we have them here today. Also, many of our projects that we create, or quilts that we create, have many, many pieces and parts to them. And you'll cut your pattern and it will say, please mark that your cut A and set it aside. Please mark that your cut B and set it aside. Mark this as number 24 and set it aside. You're going to be using it in month 3 of the block of the month. Well, these are made by Gypsy. These is a collection of pins. There are 4 chambers here, 4 separate sets of alphabets. But what I love about these pins, they're numbers on one side, letters on the other side. So when I am setting aside groupings of fabric, I'm actually pinning what the pattern says. That's A, that's B, that's C. And I brought it in today because that's what all of Annie's products have. In the back, she gives you a sheet that you cut out little squares, and it says, this is A, this is B, this is C. And so these are fabulous pins for labeling all the little bits and pieces that you're going to be using. Cool pins. All right. Now I'm going to teach you another trick. I've talked about Annie's Soft and Stable, and we love it. And it comes in, I think we have bags that are over there, 36 by 58. So you start your project. and you cut out what you're doing, and you have all these little pieces left over, and you don't want to throw them away because this stuff wasn't cheap. And people have often joined them together with a zigzag stitch. And then when you run your hand over your project, you can find that seam because it did make, it does tack it down and give you kind of a, I don't know, you can just feel it through the fabric. This is a tip I learned. This is tricot fabric. And I am certain if you embroider, you have this in your house. This is what they used to call Dreamweave, what OESD calls gentle touch. This is what you iron on the back of an embroidery so the knots of embroidery don't hurt sensitive skin. And so we buy this and they sell it to us 3 yards at a time. And so you use the little piece and now you have 3 yards of tricot fabric. Well, this is a little miracle because you can put your Annie products together, and if you use a medium warm iron, I can go ahead and press, and now I'm putting together Annie Soft and Stable. I will do it on both sides. And now I'm not going to feel a seam. I can go ahead and quilt these pieces, you know, because like I said, you do quilt all the fabric before you ever cut anything out. But now I'm starting to piece together, and what once was a piece I thought was not going to be useful, suddenly it is, and I can use it. And it might become, you know, a panel in here or whatever, but
Do you sell that?
we do. It's on the table right next to the spray bottles. That's the OESD version of it, but it's called Gentle Touch with OESD. So super helpful. And we've even are going to test this out with batting as well, with Warm and Natural, because we do that also where we do a joining stitch and then you can feel it under the fabric. Well, there's where I put those two together. And this has, this is a patchwork piece of soft and stable under here. I promised that I was just putting things together. I wasn't going to waste a scrap away. So there's your tip on how to join your soft and stable back together. When I was creating this bag, when I created this bag and I was quilting the fabric ahead of time, some of it is in large pieces and some of it is in smaller panels. So that is when I went to the clear blue tiles. The clear blue tiles, like I said, are different sizes, so it was easier to manipulate and maneuver on this fabric. If you have a machine that has a built-in scanner, camera, projector, then there really isn't a need to use the tiles. The way Kimberbell works is you map out your project on fabric and make little marks that say, in this area, I'm using this 7x13, and then the next one is going to be the 6 by whatever size, and you map it out with their tiles on your quilt. If you have a built-in camera, however, you can see it with the camera that you're aligned, and all is well and good. So what I'm going to say is I bought this. I love them because I love the patterns that I got with it. Because I have the larger machine with a camera, I don't need to use the tiles. But what we're planning to do is on, let me look here, June 10th, from 3 to 5, there's going to be a class. And the class is Let's Play with Clear Blue Tiles. Because to actually pull them out of the box and play with them and let people see what can you do with this product is, it's really the way for everybody to see and finally answer those questions. What are clear blue tiles all about? Because they are set up the way they are, the red and white quilt you see on the wall, I did the inside of that with the edge-to-edge quilting. I'm going to come back and choose a clear blue tile to do all the borders because they do have their designs in 2.5 and 3 inch widths. So I can easily get into a border with that. So my plan is to I just play with what I've got, but I know the clear blue tiles are going to help me a lot with borders. And that's a product by Kimberbell. Also, Kimberbell online does sell additional quilting patterns. And what you're really looking for is a straight line continuous design. that it's not triple stitching back on itself. You really want to have that look of long arm quilting. So I'll put this right here because it's my goal to clean this table off, right? Other ways to clean this table up is to use a stash and store, and I'm not certain if any of you have one of these, but they are, they split in all different types of different ways so that you can put things into them. I can even put the end of these scissors in. It's gonna stay there. These are really awesome. So what I call this is the organizational tool that you want near your machine. These are the tools I'm going to be using on the project I'm working on right now. And this is where you're going to store things that I need to put them away. They're not something I'm currently using in the moment. This is my other tool that I love. And if anybody's been following me on Facebook, they'll know I've become obsessed with this thing. This is what they call the sixth finger, the fingertip stiletto. And I'll tell you when it is most useful for me. I'm someone that likes to do a lot of little pieces. I like to do pinwheels. I like to do half square triangles. I like to do things that oftentimes I'm going to press my seams open. I like to press my seams open. Now, how often have you gone to your pressing station and you sit forever saying, open, magic open, please do it. You know, this thing is your sixth finger. It's so fine that you can get that right in there, open up your seam, and then you're ready to press. So when I made that quilt over there, there were 384 half square triangles. So I could go to my pressing station and pop, just open that seam and press it out. Open that seam and press it out. Now the second thing this is so useful for, that I'm gonna super glue it and have it a permanent extension of my body. Even if you press to the dark. I've taken a seam and I pressed it over to the dark, and this is all fine and good. Now I'm doing piecing and I'm coming up to my needle plate with my machine. How many times does that needle plate want to grab this fabric and push it the other direction? And when you turn it over, you have a slew of those words you saved for those moments, right?
Yeah.
This little gadget, as you're coming up to your needle plate, you can just take this, slip it under, and it just flips it right back. So while I'm sewing, I don't even have to lift and get aggressive with it because it'll just slide right into my fabric. Let me just move that right back into place and I just keep sewing. Because it is when your fabric is approaching that needle plate that it gets caught, pulled back, and then as you don't even notice it as you get to the needle and you've now sewn it the wrong direction. That fingertip stiletto will just help you keeping things in order. And I just love it. It's an awesome tool. Now we're going to move on. We have done, this is called the Take a Stand bag. It comes in the large and it comes in the small. The next bag I want to talk about is the bag called Running with Scissors. And this is to put together your different notions. There's large pockets across the top that you can put in a ruler, a small cutting mat, things like that that will go in the front. Also, another big pocket in the back. It's got a sturdy handle. And when you open it up, it is for storing everything, including scissors. So there is, on her pattern, she gives the layout for making sure you have an opening that will be a rotary cutter. And what I really like about it is they fit in snug. These aren't falling out. And the reason being is she'll put a little bit of vinyl. Let's do vinyl here. Let's do vinyl here. And that sort of helps them stick in place. So my scissors and things are not falling out of this case. Behind it, there are vinyl pockets. So in here I have USBs. I have writing tools, measuring tapes. There's little pockets to store other things. And then across here, you'll see a placeholder for thread. They just have a little thing to keep thread. This has been a really fun project to put together. But I'll tell you something true about me. I put this together and I set it aside and said, I need to bring that to SewTime. And do you know, I have so many things. I didn't miss anything in this bag. I have another pair of setters. I have another rotary cutter. I have another. So now I know this is my travel bag. I definitely have enough. But that was fun. When I'm producing a bag like this, or I'm producing a quilt, I will use a couple of things, and I'm just going to run to the table real quick and grab a couple of items. When you create the straps for your bags, you create a tube that has to be turned inside out, okay? And Dritz has quick turning tubes in 3 different sizes. So this helps you quickly turn those tubes inside and out. It's not as expensive as the metal tubes. There's other turning tools that are quite expensive, but these $10.99, you have 3 different sizes for turning those right side out. Another nice thing is when you're doing strapping for your bags, it wants you to buy strapping like this, like a nylon web or something along this line. And you feed that through this strapping. And that makes this a little bit stronger to have this on the inside. So there's another tool out there called the Clip and Glide Bodkin. And what happens is down here, it gives it like a vice grip so that you can put it through the casing and pull it all the way through, and helps you to quickly pull this type of stuff through that strapping. So another really fun tool. And of course, because Annie herself talks about these and using these, they perfectly fit in this kit. They're gonna work just great in your little kit here. Now I brought both of these patterns in because the smaller Take a Stand bag actually is an anchor for this whole thing. So when you make that one bag, you can have it to stand up like this at your sewing station and be able to reach these items quickly. So I think that is really kind of fun as well. So this one's called Running with Scissors. Running with Scissors, Annie sells a lot of by the yard zippers, hardware, mesh, all of those type of things that are going to help you with creating any one of her bags. And then this morning we sold so much of so many. The other product I like is the Wash Away Wonder Tape. I don't know if we have it at the moment, but it is a 1/4 inch tape that is sticky on both sides, a lot like our peel and stick stabilizer, a lot like they Stably Stick by OESD, but this is only a 1/4 inch. It comes in a roll of 10 yards. And how do I use it? Once I have sewn down my binding and I roll it to the other side, I will put that sticky tape down on my quilt and then take this binding and iron it down and stick it in place so it's not going to move. And so that I don't have to have 500 wonder clips all the way around. And if I cross my thread line, I know if I stitch in the ditch, I'm going to catch the back. And a lot of times stitching in the ditch with binding, that's our grandest fear, that we're going to miss it on the back. Mm-hmm. And this will help you get it lined up just right for getting that placement and hitting it every time stitch in the ditch. The other time I use that wash away tape is when I'm inserting zippers, because zippers are another thing that if you put in a pin, maybe the zipper gets a little askew. And you don't want that zipper to be askew. So on this bag, I intentionally left that wash away tape showing. I'm going to come back with a wet Q-tip after this session and get rid of it, because water, it will dissolve away instantly. So if you've used it in your binding, you have nothing to worry about. It's made out of starch. So when you wash it, you're just releasing starch. And so this will be easy to remove when I'm done with this session. And I just use it to, I don't have to pin my zippers in place. I can affix them in place, and then I don't have any distortion when I'm putting a zipper in. Look at, things are getting cleaner. This is it. This is what it's about. Okay. So we know these are patterns that we're gonna be working on next week. Or I'm done. This is the edge-to-edge quilting. We have a lot of her designs right over there, and just love her patterns. And you start her patterns with the book, because she's going to explain in wonderful detail how you do edge-to-edge quilting with her patterns. We're going to have an edge-to-edge quilting class for people who own the machines with the camera. Dream Machine, Destiny, Luminaire, Solaris. That class is going to happen on the 24th of June. And that is going to be specifically talking about how to use the Connect feature, or not only the Connect feature, how would you do it if you turned on your cameras and just wanted to scan and use your camera to help you with that. So that's a class that's coming up as well. Let me tell you about another awesome opportunity. We have folks who want to do possibly products by Annie, or maybe they want to take on a quilt that's just a little bit out of their comfort zone, but they really want to try it. Or they have a UFO stack this high and they just want to start working through those UFO stacks. We have decided, because we have this beautiful classroom, that we're going to be doing an open sew. So the open sew, we can take up to 10 people in the room. It's going to be the third Tuesday of the month. And people can come in from 10 to 4, and it's going to cost $10 to do that. And truly, the only reason we told Eddie that we're going to charge the $10 is sometimes if you say it's free, then if people get busy that day, they don't come. Typically, if you say, guess what, this is going to cost a little bit of money, then we know they're going to be here. So that's what we're doing, $10. You can sew from 10 to 4. If Laura and I are here, our job is really to work the store. That's our job, selling machines, helping people who are coming in and out of the store. But when we have a little bit of gaps here and there throughout the day. So in those gaps throughout the day, we would be available to come in and answer any type of question. Also, you're going to be in a community of 10 other people working on UFOs and whatever. And we think it's an awesome opportunity for people to share ideas and inspire each other. So again, third Tuesday of the month, 10 to 4, open sew at Isabel Sewing and Packing.
Do you need to make a reservation?
You do, because we only can have it open for 10, but you bring your machine and we'll have a pressing station and we'll have a cutting station set up, and then you guys can just do what you do best. So that's going to be really exciting. I brought in a book as well. Books are always fun. Here are placemats. In this book, the placemats are actually hot pads. So in the world of thinking outside the box, these hot pads are done with the logic of a Dresden plate. So I took this pattern and said, well, what if I went bigger with that Dresden? What could I do? And so I just made them a little bit bigger. But this is the pattern for those cute citrus slices. The other project that I did was, clear off this path a little bit, this right here, this table runner. And I am someone who believes table runners are most useful if they have two sides. If you have two sides, you can always flip them over and do, whatever season, whatever birthday, whatever holiday. So when I was doing this pattern, you can see that the lines line up pretty darn good. And so how did I do that? And I'll tell you how. I love these pressing pads. We have some back there. I love these pressing pads right here, because what I did was I took the first pattern and the second pattern and I grabbed a pin and I put it through here on the pressing pad and make sure it lands in the same location at the back. And then I stick it to this pressing pad. And then I come around like this and I align the next two up and I put in a pin. And I keep going all the way down until these things are nicely aligned, because this pad allows me to do that, allows me to stick it in place and keep it in order. And then I could line them up, get it all pinned down, and then go to figure out how I wanted to quilt it. In the world, okay, I'm coming up with something. I think I've said in the world 20 times. Maybe. All right, here we go. This is my tip. I didn't make this up myself, but I applied it to our world myself. And here's the word, charcuterie. Everybody right now, there is a craze to have a party with a charcuterie board. And we want to put out cheese and crackers and cookies and candy. But we have all this beautiful work we've done, right? I've done this table runner. I want to decorate with this. And everyone says, no, you have to go get these little wood boards and put cheese and crackers in. I think not. I think you can go tear up your grandma's vinyl sofa. No, you can go get a piece of vinyl. And if you use a hairdryer, you can make this nice and smooth. But now our lovely table runners have turned into charcuterie. And you could go ahead and put out different types of things right on your table runner and then also protect it from getting filthy, which of course is right along that theme of grandma's old sofa. But I'm taking you into the new 2022. We're going to change that vinyl and use it for charcuterie. And then you have a chance to dress up any area of your house. That's what I think. That's my new thing, my new craze. So that is my presentation that I had today. A lot of different products that we've brought in. If anything is missing from the table or we have anything at all, we can special order for you. I do want to tell you about classes that we have here. We have, we've done this before. With a serger, we did a class on the perfect t-shirt. Nancy Seifert comes in and she teaches you on a serger how to make the perfect t-shirt. And she's working with you and your form. What is the perfect length of a t-shirt for how tall you are? Or how do the cut of a t-shirt? And so it is just so useful. It's a serger class. She is offering it May 14th and again on June 10th. So you can choose between either of those Saturdays to take that class with her. I have another class I'm going to be doing. It's called the Mondo Bag. This is the Mondo Bag, and it is big, and it does have Annie's Soft and Stable in it. This class runs $85, and it's 2 days. We do it 2 Fridays in a row because the first class is creating the outer portion of this bag, and the second class is creating the lining because there is a little homework at home. And it is a pattern that goes together so slick because you're working with a piece of stabilizer. For $85, you get fabric, and it's all pre-cut for you. And let's see, and a pattern, and then the class itself. And the pattern is put together with panels. So the choices of fabric are going to be either a red, pink tone, I think they may even call it rose, of batiks, or blue. So there's 2 choices. This class, class number 1 starts tomorrow, and there are a couple openings. So you just come in with your sewing machine and a pressing pad, and you're good to go. Or we're going to be offering it again at the end of May. So if making the Mondo Bag is something you'd like to do, please join us, and that is a class. Clear blue tiles, again, is June 10th. Kimberbell has an event called Red, White, and Barbecue, and that is going to happen on Sunday, June 12th. And lastly, the Edge to Edge quilting is the 24th of June. So we really want to blow out this classroom and start using it for a lot of things. And there's nothing more wonderful than when this place is abuzz and people are doing things that they're being at their creative best. And so that is what's happening in our world. And I'm wondering, did anyone bring show and tell? No? Did anybody give you guys a raffle ticket? Mm-hmm. I need to have the other stubs so I can pull. Let me go find our ticket stubs. I'm back. All right, here's what we're giving away. We're giving away. These are, it's a spatula. Mix it up.
I was wondering what you're gonna do to that sewing machine.
You're going to go home and make something lovely and bring it back to me. Just joking. The first winner is 1684581.
Yes!
There we go.
We have a winner.
I have taken up baking. Oh.
There we go.
Okay.
I'm gonna give away one more.
I need this.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
The next winner is 1684578. There we go. Here you go.
You gonna take up baking too?
There we go.
I've already taken it up. Yeah.
All right, we thank everyone. Also, Eddie just returned from Vegas, where he had an opportunity to see the new Janome M17, which is a new combination embroidery sewing machine that is coming out that should be just over the moon. And we should see it here in the store, in the next couple of weeks? It should be here in the store. 13 inches of a throat space, 10.5 by 18 in its hoop. 2 full screens, one screen that is going to help you with your general mending and sewing, and one beautiful large screen that's going to help you with your embroidery features and editing and things like that. So a lot to see with this machine. So if you didn't have a chance to come in the store today to see SewTime, come on back in and get a chance to see the M17. We'll definitely send a newsletter when it is here in the store, but I'm pretty excited to see it. So I want to thank everyone for coming today.
Right on.
Thanks, everybody, here
you.
and in TV land.
That's right.
Oh, I say what happens in Vegas stays.